Because of music I met every person, every friend, every enemy, every girl, everything beautiful because of the music. Hello everybody, my name is Dean, your favorite host. Today I'm doing episode 4 of my podcast story, how it started, and today I'm gonna talk to you about my life in America. I made an audiobook about this thing. First of all, I'm gonna say this in the life of people, sometimes there's this one thing or this few things that really change their life. It's like the moment that your life completely went upside down and everything, and a lot of people say they found themselves in those moments. And for me, this is this story, going to America, that changed my life. And I made audiobook about this story since like 3-4 years. It's on Spotify and YouTube and Bandcamp, called Going to America, 6 chapters. Today I'm just gonna talk a little bit about it, make a little like podcast episode about this trip, try to make it into 1 hour. And I'm feeling good right now. And the day before yesterday I had a little almost deja vu. I was outside running in the morning, and it made me feel like those days in America. So let's get it started. I really want to tell you the story. Basically, I am coming from a small little city in Bulgaria called Vratsa in the mountains. You're already familiar about this shit if you watch my other videos. And since I was born until I was 21, I never traveled. I never went outside of Bulgaria, with the exception of one time when I was very young. I went with my mother to Turkey for just a weekend. But besides that, I never left my country, and I never spoke English, and I just didn't know what it's like. But I grew up with sort of like Western culture, Western music, Western movies and everything. And I was dreaming about what the life is gonna be in America, because life in Bulgaria was very different than the States. The whole Eastern Bloc is very, very different, even though it's Europe. So quickly, why? Let's start with why I went to America in the first place. I was in university in that time. Right after high school, I made a big change of going to music university instead of medical university, the thing that I was getting prepared for many years. And this was very turbulent, dramatic time for me and my family, because we come from a little poor city, the poorest region of Bulgaria, and my parents were pharmacy workers, so they knew how difficult my life is gonna be in this country, this city, if I don't earn good money. They wanted me to be a doctor because of this reason, or like a lawyer or whatever. So I talked about this in the previous episodes. And when I went to music school, it was very dramatic for them. My father didn't approve at all. He didn't want to talk to me for like few years, and big mess. But I was in music university and I was studying. I was very overwhelmed about music university and the fact that it was different than the way I was expecting it. And I talk about it in the previous episode 3, my first 2 years in university. But I went through a chain of different events. My best friends circles changed, because you're best friends with somebody in high school, and then you go to university and you kind of separate a little bit. And I broke up with my girlfriend from high school that we were together for many years, for 4 or 5 years, Maria. And then I started dating this girl that I was dreaming about a little bit for a while, and we had a very strong romance. I talked about it also in the last episode. But this relationship went downhill very quickly, and it was this very dramatic moment of my life that I was with the girl of my dreams. But she was such a hard person to date, because her life was so different than mine. She left her home when she was 16, and she had a lot of trouble with her family and a lot of dark moments, and she started doing drugs when she was very young. And she left high school as well when she was 16, and this kind of a kind of very underground, very like alternative person, and I was still kind of a normal person in a way, even though my life was a bit crazy also in high school. But my parents, I mean, they were separated, but they were still kind of providing me safe environment in a way, and she didn't have any of that shit, and she didn't have a good job, she didn't have a good place to stay, she was staying with friends and everything, and she was staying in some weird different city, and I was going to meet her as much as I can, but it was like very hard because she was into drugs so hard, and I was trying to like kind of take her away from this shit. I was working, I was going to university, and I was trying to fucking make a person, a human out of myself in the kind of more like normal way, you can say, like university job, like this kind of a normality, and she was like alternative crazy, So yeah, it was dramatic, and we broke up a bit after Christmas, after a very stressful thing that happened on Christmas. I wanted to surprise her with a very good gift, and she ended up not showing up, and the family she was living with called the police on me 3 times, and I ended up they took me in the station, and I had to pay fine, for not wanting to leave because I wanted to see her, and she was hiding from me and whatever. But this relationship made me very, you can say, close to, like, I don't want to say depressed, but because I don't like those words, but it was very dramatic for me to like when it ended, and I was thinking I want to get as much away as possible from Bulgaria, and this is how I got the idea to go to America, because in Bulgaria, if you're a student, there's options to go to do like work and travel in America, in North America. And how this works is it's very hard to get like a working visa with Bulgarian passport to go to North America, so because they don't really want us to just like emigrate there and like overpopulate America with Bulgarians. I don't know how they do it, why they do it like this, but it's hard to get the visa, and if you're a student, you can apply for this called J1, if I remember correctly, which is like a 6 months visa, and they want to give it to somebody that has a reason to come back to Bulgaria, so they give it to people who are students with good grades and families, so they expect me to not stay there. And it's very hard to get that visa. But there's options, and there's like a company that does it, and usually you apply for this visa in the September, October, November, and you apply for next year, and there's like a long months of waiting and applying for jobs and stuff like that, and usually by the spring it's already all the places are taken, because this company kind of helps you find a job and place to stay, but in the springtime everything is done, and you have to really start early. But I had this decision in February, and it was almost too late, but I tried to convince my parents that this thing is good for me, because I'm gonna make some money, I'm gonna learn some new skills, I'm gonna learn English, I'm gonna practice English. I mean, in Bulgaria, people from my generations are learning English from first grade, but we don't really use it so much because there's not so many foreigners in Bulgaria, and Bulgarian people don't really travel as much as West Europeans, for example, or Americans. I mean, I don't know if Americans travel so much outside of America. Anyway, so I my parents decided they're gonna support this decision, and they helped me with the money that I needed to travel, to go there, and to pay for this like in between company that helps you find this job. And I got a job in upstate New York. Saratoga Springs is a little city near Albany, the capital of New York State. And the job that I found, you found this job through like an interview you make like with webcam. I found a job in a golf court, and the interviewing person, we get along very well, and he told me this place will be good for me because there's a lot of music in the city, a lot of like festivals, and good bands are going to play there, and because I'm studying music, I'm interested in music, it's going to be interesting for me to be there. And but the job that I got was a very shitty job. I was about to cut grass every day in a very expensive golf court for rich people, like to cut the grass, to prepare the sand and everything. And I was going to sleep in the house with all the other workers, and all the workers are like heavy men, like they're all men in this like company. And there are people who are working outside in the sun, in the cold, in the rain every day, so they're tough people. And they were not very welcoming for me. They didn't really. I never met my boss before I took on the airplane to a new country, to a fucking new continent. For first time in my life, I never met these people, and I'm going there. I'm gonna live with them. I'm gonna work for them. That's wild, you know. And I was 21 at that time, 21 years old. It was just after the second year of university, so I had to miss like 1 month of university that I was going to catch later. And I fly there, and I didn't took a lot of money with me. I had like $300 with me. And with the idea that I'm going there to make money, so I go there just to pay my rent for the first 1-2 weeks, and then I just go there and they're gonna keep the money from my paycheck for the rent, because I'm living in a house with the workers, and they're just gonna pay me every week. And I went there to work every day, with the idea that I'm gonna work. So let me tell you how I get to this fucking place. So I got there, and I took a lot of things with me, because my father never took airplane in his life. My mother flight with airplanes, I think, twice or 3 times. So my parents are not very like travelers in a normal sense. What's happening with this camera? It's okay. It's making something when I do this? I don't know. So anyway, my father was giving me clothes to prepare, like I'm going to, I don't know, Siberia or whatever. Like I had many clothes with me, like I'm going to a place where I cannot buy anything, you know. He was preparing me for going to the desert or something. And one of my bosses, one of the people I was working for, took me from this station. I fly to JFK airport, and then I took a Greyhound bus to Albany, and there I'm waiting for some guy I never met, and he never met me. He doesn't know how I look like. Maybe he kind of knows, but I never met him. So I'm waiting for some guy in the middle of the night to take me with his pickup truck to where I'm gonna sleep. And I met this guy, and he was a short man, very tough looking, with like a baseball cap and like not very friendly. And he drove me, and I had one day before the work started to just like look around. And it was beautiful. The city was beautiful. It looked like on all the shows I was watching growing up, like Malcolm in the Middle, like 2.5 Men, like the Orange County, like all these shows, you know, the American streets, the little houses that look like they're made of cardboard and stuff. And everybody is like smiling, everybody's friendly, everybody's saying hello when you walk into the store. But my work people were not very friendly at all, no. And it was only me and one guy from Moldova, only 2 foreigners, and everybody else was Americans from the city. And I didn't speak very good English. I was with long hair. I didn't look very like normal. I don't know, but they didn't really like me. They didn't talk to me very much. And I started working, and the job was terrible. Basically, they were telling me, so the job goes like this. You wake up at 4:30, 5 a.m., and then they take you with a pickup truck, and they drive you for 20 minutes outside of the city to this golf court. And then you get your what you have to do, you know. They tell you what you have to do, and you have to go and cut grass and prepare shit for 4 hours. You have a little break, and then you go out and cut more grass for 4 more hours. And every morning, every day. And I was paid overtime in Sunday, Saturday. And I started doing this job, and I didn't get along with anybody. I was making mistakes, and my boss was just screaming in my face and telling me I'm doing everything wrong. And I was getting crazy because I really missed playing music. I took my acoustic guitar with me, I took my drumsticks, and I remember I was living in a house with the other workers, and one day I was taking my guitar and playing, and they told me I cannot do it in the house. Fuck, what? I didn't have my own room, I was sleeping with another worker. So I remember one day at the job there was some buckets, those plastic buckets for water or for, containers. They were dirty, and I already my workmates, they knew I'm a musician, I'm studying drums, and I asked them, can I have those buckets if I clean them? I want to play drums on them. And they said, clean them and you can take them. And this is what I did. I cleaned them very well. I took them home, and after I was told I cannot practice at home, I started looking for places I can play outside of my job. Fuck, I don't know if I can tell the whole story in 1 hour. Maybe it's gonna be 2 hours. Fuck it, as much as it is. So, fuck, there's so many things. Well, when I arrived to America, I want to tell you, before I went to the States, I was listening to a lot of indie music, a lot of indie rock and indie folk, and bands that... There's no bands like this in Bulgaria that play this type of genre of music at that time, not so many. And I was listening to bands like the Dodos and Band of Horses and Dead Cab for Cutie and stuff like that. And I was falling in love in longboarding. I was riding a skateboard from the beginning of, my teen life, since I was 13. Actually, the whole music thing started from skateboarding for me, because I was playing video games since I was 6 years old. And there was one game, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, I talk about it in the first episode, that catched me, and I wanted to be a skateboard person. I want to be a skateboarder, I want to ride skateboard, and the soundtrack of the game really captured me, and I started listening to punk music because of the soundtrack, and I started playing electric guitar because of the soundtrack of this game, and everything was kind of skateboarding music together. And in the end of high school, beginning of university, I was falling in love in longboarding. But the problem was, in Bulgaria there was no places you can buy this, and it was super expensive to buy a longboard with big wheels, big deck, for riding fast, going downhill and making slides and shit like this. There was no place to buy those things, and I couldn't, and I didn't have money. So, and in America they pay you every week, so you get money quickly. And even though I wasn't making so much money, I was making $9 per hour. But I bought, with my first paycheck, I bought a GoPro camera, just like this one, like old one, and I bought a longboard after like 3 weeks in America. I think on the first week I bought it. Actually, it's like the first time I get a paycheck, or actually the second time. So I spent all my money I made in the first 2 weeks into a camera and a longboard. Now there was one skate shop in the mall in Saratoga Springs. There was a mall area, a bit outside of the city. You take a bus to go there, and there's a big skate shop, and it's a chain of skate shops called Zoomies in America. And Zoomies, some people don't like them because the real skateboards don't like them, because it's a bit like a fashion apparel company, a little bit like how do you call it in Germany? There was a chain like this. I forgot already. Anyway, so yeah, they sell a lot of clothes, a lot of t-shirts, hats and stuff like that, and skateboards. And but they were super friendly. And I bought my longboard from a very crazy looking guy with a lot of tattoos. And also I realized I don't have the right clothing for my job, I had clothes for a city, and in this work I had to have work clothes that are more for cutting grass, so big boots, short pants, and clothes for work. And I went to buy clothes for work in the mall. My boots, Doc Martens I got. 2 nice shoes for working at the field. I destroyed them in this job, but I really like them. Anyway, in that mall, the place I bought my clothes and the skateboard, there was a girl working in the clothing store where I shopped for clothes. What was her name? She was a small, short, blonde, blue-eyed girl, a little bit like a little Trixie, a little bit like a little magical person. And of course everybody in America is smiling and friendly to you when you're shopping, but she was extremely nice. And I took her phone number, right? And I wanted to see her again after this. I think I called her once. Did we see each other? So I'm gonna get back to her soon, but I wanted to say that she was my first contact I made in the city. My English was very bad, and I realized it very quickly, because in my job, when my boss was screaming at my face, I was not able to defend myself very well. I was not able to make a argument with him, because my skills are very limited language, and this made me feel very uncomfortable. And I just went to the library in the city, and I made a library card, and I started taking books from the library, and trying to practice my Wait, I'm gonna get back to this. I have to put into the camera something to not stop the clip. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna tell you about the library. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're back. My English was very bad, and I wanted to do something about it. So I made myself library card, and then I started going to the library and taking up books and try to read them in English and trying to translate them. It was very, very, very hard for me. I wanted to develop working English that I can use to communicate better. And in that time of my life, I was writing journals, alright? I was writing journals for a few years. And I took my journal in America, and I was writing about all the hard things that are happening for me. And I tried to start writing in English in that journals. So that girl in the clothing store was the first person I met. And after I took the buckets from my job and I cleaned them, and my housemate workers told me I cannot play guitar or drums in the house, I was looking for places to play, and I found this park, very beautiful park. What was the name of the park? I already forgot. Fuck, this thing was 5-6 years ago. There was this beautiful park in the city, and Saratoga Springs is famous for natural waters, natural springs. And there was this Congress Park. I went to Congress Park in Saratoga Springs, and with my buckets, and I started banging them, and there was one guy who stopped, young guy, like 20 years old, 19, told me I'm very good and gave me like a $1, right? I was like, what? This person is giving me money for what? For playing with sticks on these buckets, and told me I'm very good and I should go and play on the main street, on what's the name street? On the Broadway. It's called Broadway Street. Broadway and Caroline, the two streets. Broadway is the main street of Saratoga Springs, and Caroline is the street with all the shops, not shops but nightclubs and bars. And those two streets are famous that there's a lot of street musicians playing there all summer, all year actually, in Saratoga. So he told me to go there with my buckets, and I didn't go. I was afraid to do it, but I did it later, but I'll tell you about it. I remember I went to the park with my guitar as well once, and I met another guy with a guitar. White guy with blonde hair, glasses, tall guy, crazy looking, around 20 years old again, 1920, and his name was Will Wojciechowski, Polish last name, but he was American guy. Maybe his grandfather was Polish. So we met and we talked about guitars and we played some music, and yeah, he was super nice to me. I called that girl from the clothing store, Jordan. Her name was Jordan. I called Jordan, and I think we met quickly for coffee once, and then she told me later she's gonna make a party in her house, and if I wanna come. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come. And I came there, and the blonde guy with long hair, Will Wojciechowski, with the guitar, was also there. Apparently he also met her in the park, and she invited him as well. And it was me, the girl, Jordan, Will, and a few other people in this party. And it was a very nice party. It was like in American movies. It was in the warm summer night, in like the backyard of a house. There was fire, and we were making marshmallows on sticks, something I never tried before. You see it in the American movies. Marshmallows are those little fluffy, sweet, kind of balls looking things that you stick it on the stick, and I put them in the fire, and they kind of melt a little bit, and they're very sweet, like sugary, but you eat them on fire. And I kissed that girl on the party. Actually, I was going to pee. I was getting very drunk. I was going to pee, and as I was going down from the toilet, I met her. She was climbing to go to pee as well inside the house. We were both drunk, and I was looking at her. She was looking at me. I just kissed her, and we just started having sex right there, inside the house, next to the toilet. Actually, inside the toilet, I think, on like a stairway. And there's somebody was coming in, and then we had sex. It was great, It was quick, but it was wow. It was the first party I've been there, and it was in a way like the first time I went out with people in America. That party, it was like incredible for me. And I came home drunk. Like I came home at like 2-3 a.m. Tried to not wake up anybody, and I couldn't wake up on time. I couldn't wake up for my job. They didn't wake me. They just went without me to the job, and I freaked out. I woke up. It was 6 a.m. instead of 5, instead of 4:35, and I took a taxi to the job, and my boss saw me, and he told me, "Come to the office. You're fired." And I freaked out. I was like, "What?" I was still waking up. I still didn't know what was going on. And he told me I'm fired, and he was laughing in my face. He was very bad to me. He was not nice at all. He was very bad. So he told me, you're terrible. He told me I'm a terrible worker, and I was not a very good worker. Yes, I was, because I hated this job, and I was not putting a lot of attention into the details of cutting the grass properly. I was just like doing it, but I had this was the second or the third kind of a red flag they had with me, because I did a few other stupid things in the job in the first 2 weeks, which were, okay, I'm gonna tell you, I don't give a shit, I can be honest with you. So we were cutting grass in a golf court, and early in the morning, when you go to the field, you find golf balls, right? From the players who hit them, and they fell into the tree, they fell into the bushes, they fell into the lake, and they forget about them. And I start collecting them. So every time I see a golf ball, I was putting it in my pocket, and then I take them home, and but I was doing it secretly, because the boss told us not to touch the balls. You're not allowed to touch any balls, even in the morning. You don't touch them, because maybe somebody's playing with them or whatever. It's not yours. You cannot take it. But I was taking it because I heard from some other workers, older workers, they also were doing that shit, and they were like collecting them and then selling them on eBay. And some of them were expensive to sell, and you can make good extra money for like the balls, you know, that you find. And I was thinking I'm gonna take them back to Bulgaria. I was collecting in this big plastic bag under my bed balls, and the other worker that I was living with was doing the same. And anyway, one day, as I was working, I found a ball, but it was in the day, you know, it was like in 10, 11 in the day. Usually you start work at like 6 and you finish it like, I don't know, 1, 2 p.m., something like this, or 1. And already there was people playing, and I found this ball and I took it with me. And apparently somebody was playing with this ball. It was part of the game, and I just took somebody's ball in the middle of their game, and they saw me because I'm wearing this kind of a blue t-shirt. Everybody was wearing this blue t-shirts with the logo of the company, and they see this guy that works there take their ball and driving away. We were driving those little buggy like mountain cars, electric cars. And they make a complaint to the company that people are stealing their balls. It was like a guy with long hair, and it was only me with long hair, so they know it was me. And my boss was telling me that if I do another thing like this, I'm fired, you know. So this was one thing. Another thing that I did was, one time, as I was working, I really wanted to pee, right? And there was no toilets nearby. And in Bulgaria, okay, it sounds a bit disgusting, but you know, everybody does it all around the world. When a man wants to pee and there's like bushes and like trees, you just go and pee next to the tree. This is what I did. I just went and I peed on a tree, but it was like in the middle of the golf course, right? So people don't saw me, but other workers saw me, and most of the workers didn't like me, so they just told my boss, Dimitar, Dean. They didn't call me Dean yet. Was peeing there, and my boss told me that I cannot do that shit. And another thing that happened was once again I couldn't wake up on time. I woke up as the workers were just ready to leave the house, and I woke up like 15 minutes late, 20, but they were still like getting ready to go with the pickup truck to the job. So I was rushing to not miss the bus. Nobody was coming to wake me up. They didn't give a shit about me. They didn't be like, hey, wake up, we're going. Nobody did that for me. So I woke up and everybody was down there getting ready, and I couldn't eat breakfast. I just jumped and went to work. But the other workers told my boss I woke up a bit late, so it was like, if you don't get on this bus, nobody's gonna wait for you and you're gonna lose your job. So they were very tough, very rough for me. I was like in the fucking military. And this time was my last mistake. Obviously they didn't tolerate any of the shit I was doing. So my boss told me, you're fired, and he tells me that this shit in 7 a.m. I'm still waking up. And he said, the other worker that lives with you, the old guy that lives with us, that drives us, the driver from our house, he's gonna drive you back home, and you're gonna pack up your things, and then he's gonna drop you to the bus station and go back to the airport, go back to Bulgaria, whatever you like. We don't want you here. It was like this. They were very like aggressive, and he's driving me home. And this happens on my 3rd week in America. So I just arrived. 1 week, I'm kind of understanding where the fuck I am. 2nd week comes, I get my first paycheck. I buy a longboard and a camera. And then another week, I played in the park. I meet this guy, I meet this girl, and I went to the party. I had my first like fucking good night, and then I'm fired. And he drives me home and I'm like in panic. I'm 21 years old, my English is still terrible, I cannot speak. I have no money because I didn't took a lot of money with me, with the plan I'm gonna be making and saving, and I spent everything I made in the first 2 weeks for like toys. I don't know anybody I can call. So I start thinking, who can I call? And I'm packing my things. The worker told me, you have 1 hour to pack up. And I said, can I take a shower at least, you know? Took a shower. And I put all my things inside my suitcase. The fucking golf balls I was collecting, I just left them the bed of my roommate that didn't wake me up. He just left me. So fuck them all, you know. they were not nice to me. They were not very nice to me. I left my working clothes there, I left my golf balls, and I was taking a shower and thinking, what the fuck am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I'm taking my phone. It's still 7:30 in the morning, 8 in the morning. I'm calling this girl that I met her on the party last night, that we had sex in the toilet, and she's not picking up the phone. It's 8 in the morning after a party. Of course she's not gonna pick up. She's sleeping. She's drunk sleeping. I had the phone number of this blonde guy, Will Jensky, the musician, and I call him. He's the only other person I know, and he picks up the phone. I was like, man, I'm in big trouble. Can you come and help me? And he said yes. I gave him my address. He came with a car. He said, I'm coming in 20 minutes. I'm picking up my clothes, and the driver of the workers that's waiting for me downstairs says, are you ready? We're going to the bus station. I said, no, we're not going to the bus station. My friend is coming. And he would look at me like this, like, what? You have friends? Who's coming for you? Kind of a very surprised look. And Will Wojcinski came, and I say a lot of times that this guy saved my life, and he became my best friends afterwards. And he said, Dean, everything's gonna be alright. Let's go get a coffee first and everything's gonna be fine. And I just put all my stuff, my suitcase, my guitar, my skateboard, my drumsticks, everything in the back of his car. He had a little Toyota Corolla or Toyota something like this, little simple car. And we went to get a coffee in Uncommon Grounds, the best coffee shop in the city, where it's like there's a lot of people with tattoos working there. It's a big place, very beautiful, and a lot of musicians are hanging up there because they're gonna play in the day or in the night, and it's like the big coffee shop that everybody goes. It's from early in the morning till late at night, and a lot of the workers, a lot of the staff of the coffee shop are also musicians or kind of alternative crazy people with crazy hair and tattoos and shit like this. So we go there. I'm gonna take a second of telling you why he was calling me Dean, because my name was not Dean, my name was Dimitar all my life until that moment. When I went to America, when I bought my longboard, I met one guy with longboards again in the park, and I was trying to make friends, and we went skating once, but we didn't become friends. But we didn't catch very well. But when I told him my name is Dimitar, he said, I cannot remember this. It's Dimitri. I said, no, it's not Dimitri, it's Dimitar. And he said, well, can I call you something else? Can I call you Dean? I was like, Dean? Why not? It reminds me of one book I read. I just read The Road by Jack Kerouac, and one of the characters was called Dean Moriarty, one of the main characters, and I like that name. And I said, okay, call me Dean, and it became my American name. So I'm there with Will Wojcinski, the blonde musician, in the coffee shop, and I'm freaking out. In the coffee shop, we met one very old musician early in the morning called Randall. He was like an old hippie with white hair, like in his 60s maybe. He was playing a bit music, but he was also drawing on the street with chalk, drawing like nice things like peace and love and happiness, whatever, something like this. And he was drawing those things and collecting money from the tourists. And I told him that I lost my house and I don't know what to do. And he told me that there is a place in the city called Shelters of Saratoga, SOS in short. And that place was a homeless shelter, a house for people who are in need, people who are in a very hard position in their life, and they're on the street, they don't have a place to go, and maybe I can get a room there, I can get a bed there. And he told me it's very hard to get there, but maybe I can try. And I was like, oh fuck, I cannot go there. And I saved it in my mind as a backup plan. And then I called the company that I used to go to, that I used to find my job, and I told them what the situation is, and they told me, look, we're gonna give you one night in a hotel. We're gonna pay it for one night, and for this day we're gonna contact your boss and hear his version of the story and decide if we take his position or your position. And basically what this means is, if they decide that my boss was right to kicking me out, then I have to go back to Bulgaria immediately. And if they decide that they're gonna give me one more chance, then I'm gonna have 1 week to find a new job. And if I don't find a new job, I have to go back to Bulgaria. But if I find a new job, I have to find it for 1 week by myself, and I have to find a new place to stay because they cannot help with that. And I said to them, I have no money. I didn't have money. I had like 200 euros, something like this, and $200. And they told me, well, then sleep with some friends for a few days and you're gonna find something. But we need a dress for you. I was like, okay. So I slept in that hotel, and it was the most nervous night of my life. I was going to this hotel very up the city, very far in the end of the city, because it was the cheapest motel. That, they didn't want to put me in a nice hotel in the city center. They put me in like the edge of the city, the cheapest possible place. And I remember, as I was leaving my house in that morning, I took all the food I had in the fridge that is mine, which was like a big milk, big jar of milk, and I like some corn, like almost like cornflakes kind of stuff, and this was like my food, and like a bit of bread. And I went to this hotel, and I put my things there, and I ate my bread, and I drink my milk, and I was like eating my cornflakes, and I don't know how I was able to sleep that night. It was so stressful for me, knowing that next day I'm gonna receive a phone call, and that phone call is gonna be my destiny, my future. Depends on somebody else's decision. Terrible when it's not in your hands. Somebody else is deciding what's gonna happen with your life. You're gonna stay in America or go back to your country. So I woke up, and I went to meet Will Wojcinski again, and I received the phone call from the company. They told me that they're gonna give me 1 week to find a new job, a new house. If I don't that, I have to get deported. I have to get back to Bulgaria. But if I find a new job and a contract, because I need a contract for my visa and stuff, I can stay. So Will said, Dean, we're gonna find you a job. Because Will was also coming to Saratoga Springs to work that summer. He was not from that city, he was from some other city. And he came to visit his uncle and to find a job and make some money. He was staying with his uncle. I didn't ask him to sleep in his house because we just met, and my parents didn't teach me to just ask people for things. So yeah, my mind I didn't get this idea to ask him. But we decided we're gonna find jobs together, and we're gonna look together. He said, Dean, we're gonna I'm gonna teach you the American way. He said, we're gonna go to the library, and we're gonna write you and me CVs, little work experience. And I said, I have no work experience in like bars and shit like this. I didn't have any experience. He said, it doesn't matter, you're gonna invent some, you're gonna lie, you're gonna find some shops in Bulgaria, nobody's gonna look, and just like write them and put their phone numbers or some fake ones, nobody's gonna call. And you're gonna put your nice shirt, we're gonna make those CVs, print them, buy paper bags from CVS pharmacy, and put them in, fold them in, and like go to every place in that city and get a job for you and for me. And we did that. So I put my best shirt and we started walking from bar to bar, from shop to shop, and nobody wanted me. Nobody wanted to hire us, and spent one whole day going everywhere. Nothing. And in the meantime, I didn't have a place to stay. So I went to that homeless shelter that Rando told me. I was thinking maybe I'm gonna just stay there for 2 days if I can, and then find a place. Just temporary solution. I went there and I met the boss and I told her everything. It was an old woman, very nice. And I got in. They said you can stay here for a few days, for a week, and see how everything goes. I still had to pay to stay there. I had to pay $10 every night. And there was a lot of rules that I had to follow to be able to stay there. Because that shelter was clean and it was almost like a place that is helping people in a tough situations to get back in life, So they were trying to kind of teach people to do good things. So you were not allowed to drink alcohol, you were not allowed to take any drugs. And they test you every night when you come home. They have to blow in this machine every night, and you cannot even drink a beer. Because if you do, you're gonna leave the shelter on the next day and you cannot go back. And it's a nice place, sort of. I mean, there's no cockroaches and insects crawling everywhere, nobody's stealing anything. It's kind of safe place. It had only 50 beds. It has three floors, the homeless shelter. It had one floor for men, 35 men, one floor for women, 15 women, and in the middle there was a floor for everybody. It had kitchen, it had TV room, library, stuff like that. So I got my bed. There was rooms with 10 people in a room. There's double bunk beds, and I was living with people that were coming from prison, people who were coming from mental hospitals, people from without parents, or from orphanages, and you were only allowed to stay in the shelter for like I think 2 months, something else. Then you have to go, and you had a curfew. You had time that you have to leave the shelter every morning. You cannot stay there all day. You have to clean your bed, clean your room, and leave at 9:30 every morning. And you are allowed to come back at 5:30 in the afternoon, but you cannot come as later than 10 in the day, in the Monday to Friday, and weekends you can come at midnight, something like this, or 11. And you have to do a little work every day in the shelter for like half an hour. Work like throwing up the garbage of the house, cleaning a floor, cleaning the whole room, helping with the breakfast, preparing, because we were having breakfast there, cleaning after the breakfast, preparing before the breakfast, something different. Every day there was something different for every one of us. There was a big blackboard, and the name of everybody was written there. It was kind of calibrating and changing, and every day there was a different thing for every one of us. So I got the bed, and I started looking for a place to stay, a place to work. As I told you, on the first day I couldn't find anything. On the second day I continued looking, and in one moment, after half of the day was over, I decided, me and Will, we're gonna just go and look by ourselves. He's gonna look for him, I'm gonna look for me, and we're gonna meet in the night, see if we can find something alone. And I did that. I went everywhere. I gave my CV to every place. I asked, can I meet the manager? And like, I come into the place and say, hello, my name is Dimitar Gospodinov. I'm a student from Bulgaria and I want to work here. Can I please speak to the manager? The manager comes and I tell him who I am, tell them that I really want to work there, and this is my CV I prepared for them. And the CV had my phone number and everything. And they said, yes, of course, we're going to look at and call you. But nobody called me. After looking everywhere, I met my friend Will, and he found a job washing dishes in one bar or a restaurant. But I didn't find anything, and I was sad that I couldn't find anything. And Will took me to his restaurant to see if they can hire me as well, and they said no, only one person. So I was like, fuck. I looked everywhere. So there was one. We were sitting on the street and like drinking not drinking. I was drinking water. I was not allowed to drink alcohol. It was my first day in a homeless shelter. So I was looking at the end of the street. There was an Indian restaurant, and I said, Will, I never tried this. Let me try this place. And he said, like, no, nobody's gonna hire you there. It's like a family Indian traditional place. Nobody's gonna take you to work there. You're a white guy from Bulgaria. And I said, fuck it, I'm gonna go. And I went there and I wanted to talk to the people, to the manager. The restaurant was very nice, but they were a little bit kind of rude to me, you know. I met the manager and he was looking at me like, who the fuck are you? He took my CV, looked it up quickly, looked at him and said, did you work in restaurants before? I said, yes, and I didn't. He said, come tomorrow. He's like, look at me like this. Talk something in Indian with the other guy. I said, come tomorrow with a shirt and nice clothes. And I said, okay. And I was hired. I get my first job in the Indian restaurant, and I was so happy. And I had, my plan was to give them the best version of me, be super nice, super friendly, be very careful to not fuck up this job, and to make a contract there so I can stay there whole summer. I can keep my visa for the summer. I told my company that I found a job. They was like, great, you have to print this document and had them to write it and sign it, and then you can stay. And I took that, and they asked, where is your address? And I told them, oh, I don't have still place. I'm staying with friends, but there is homeless shelter that maybe I can stay there. They said, no, you cannot stay there. You have to sleep in a real address. And then what I did was, I took the address of a friend, of this girl. But I was not really living there. Just use it for this thing. In the Indian restaurant was very fun to work. I was working with people from Mexico and from India, but I was still working only 2 days a week, only Friday, Saturday. Basically, my boss was calling me when he thinks he needs me, when it's busy. I was not working there every day. It was only when they need me. And it was very fun to work there. I was learning a lot about people, and I was able to eat there. The Mexican boys were fantastic. They were like 26, 27-year-old boys that went to America to make money, and they were sending money to their families every month. Hardworking people. And every time I go to the bar, they were preparing food for me. I was able to eat something before I start working. And then I was eating in the middle of my work, and then we were all eating together in the night. So I didn't have to spend money for food, which was great because I didn't make money. I was making money 2 times a week, like a minimum wage, 2 days a week. I was able to pay my homeless shelter $70 a week, but I was not making a lot of money, and I came to America to make money because I already spent a lot of money to go there. I went to the mall. I didn't check the mall to see if I can work there. I went to the skate shop and I asked them, hey, do you think I can do you know any place I can work in this mall? I need a job. And they said, well, we are looking for people for the summer. I was like, what? The skate shop, that's my dream, working in a fucking skate shop. You know, I watched this movies when I was teenager, Grind. It's a very cool movie about skateboarding, like skate shop, and I was like, fuck, I want to work in a skate shop. I remember when I was young, in my city, Wraca, when I was a skateboarding person, there was no skate shop in my city. So there was skate shops in only 2 cities in Bulgaria, the Sofia, the capital, Sofia, and Varna, the sea capital. There was only 2 places you can buy skate stuff in the country, in Bulgaria. So the skate shop for me was almost like church, you know, but like a special church, like a special place. I was looking at the people in the skate shop like, wow, how can I be like you? How can I be qualified to work with like you? And all these people like smoking joints, you know, and they look drunk, but you know, I look up to them like, I wanna work where you work. And they said, well, maybe when you become a bit older, you know, whatever. So for me it was ridiculous that I can work in a skate shop. And but I said, yeah, what do I have to do? And I said, write a CV, send an email, and we're gonna look it up, and we're gonna invite the people that we accept the CVs to come on an interview, and if you pass the interview, you're in. And I was like, wow. And I did it, and I wrote the CV, and I was so serious writing this CV for them. It was like the work of my life to be able to get in. I was so careful. It took me like hours, 1 whole day to write it. And they accepted it. They invited me to go to interview, and I show up to the skate shop, and we are 30 people who want to get this 1 or 2 positions. 30 people. And I realized I'm the only person that is not American in that interview. I'm the only person who's a foreigner. Everybody else is from that city. I'm the only person who doesn't speak good English. Only person who... I was sticking out too much. And I was not very fucking confident. And I didn't bring a pen. Somebody gave me this red pen. They were asking us a lot of things, and they asked us to write some stuff there about ourselves and why do we want that job and some other stuff. I don't know. They asked us some question about skateboarding, and I was super serious, like I'm going to a university exam. And I received the email a few days later that they choose me, and if I want to work in that skate shop, I'm welcome to come on, you know, whatever day for my first working day. And for me, this was like, wow, I cannot believe, you know, this was insane. I went my first working day in a skate shop. And let me tell you something else I didn't tell you about the skate shop. When I went there to buy my longboard, a few weeks later, while I was still working on a golf court, as I was buying the longboard, the shop was big, and there was a few workers. There was a few girls and I think 1 guy. There was 1 girl that really catch my attention. Her name was Ashley, and she was this perfect-looking American girl from a TV. You know, tall, blonde. You know, beautiful shapes, blue eyes, like smiling, looking like she's made of sugar or something. And I was looking at her all the time as I was making my, you know, buying my stuff. And I remember as I was getting ready to pay and leave, I said, hey, can I ask you something? She said, yes. And I said, can I get your phone number? She was like, and like there was this other girl working with her, Alex. They look at each other laughing. And I said, and they looked at me like, why? And I said, well, I don't know, maybe I want to take you on a date, you know. And she said, she was like blushing, and her friend was they were all blushing, but I was like doing my game. And she said, I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend, but if you give me your phone number, may I give it to a friend? And I was like, okay, great. But yeah, oh no, actually the story was not like this. Actually, I bought my skateboard, I left, but I was thinking about this girl, and then I came back after a few minutes, and I said, hey, can I ask you something? She said, yeah, do you want something else to buy? And I said, I want to get your phone number and, this thing. And then she said, no, of course. And then I left, but I left happy because I tried, I remember leaving that skate shop the first time and thinking, fuck, I want to speak to this girl, but I was not brave enough. And then I went back and I did it, and even though she said no, I was happy that at least I tried, and I realized her reaction was cool. So yeah, on my first working day I go there and she's there. I was like, hey, remember me? I'm sorry I did this, hopefully it's not awkward for you to see me now. She's like, yeah, it's fine, so I started working in a skate shop 1 day a week, and working in a skate shop was a dream, to say it quickly. It was a dream job for me. I was paid to stay there, and like when people come, I try to sell them things, and sometimes I had to fix a little bit skateboards, to put new grip tape, to change the trucks, change the wheels, whatever, some simple things. And but for me it was like, wow. There was also a machine for candy inside the skate shop. They had this big red couch, leather couch. It was like in the movies, and sometimes when there were no customers and we had nothing to do, we were just skating around the shop with the other people, or the manager said, hey Dean, do you want to try some clothes, because you have to know how the designs fit so you can sell them better. And easy jobs, easy stuff. I can't believe I was getting paid for just having fun. But still I was working 3 days a week, not so much. To maximize my profit, I decided I'm gonna try to spend as little money as possible. I was trying to spend no money every day of my life so I can bring more money back to Bulgaria, because I was already making almost nothing. So I was eating in a homeless shelter every morning. I was eating in the job, the restaurant, and some musician told me that there was a place in the city, the church, that you can eat every day at 12 free lunch. And I was going there every day at 12 to eat lunch, or 2, I forgot what it was, 12 I think. So I was eating for free every day of my life. And what I was doing with my time, I was playing guitar in the park. I started playing guitar on the street with my new best friend Will Jensky. We started playing music and making videos with my GoPro. We started busking for first time. It was crazy, it was great. But we were traveling with Will to another city, hitchhiking, making videos. I started a YouTube channel at that time. I realized this is the most crazy moment of my life, I have to film it. And I decided the channel is gonna be about musicians, about street musicians, because that city had such amazing musicians, and people from other cities were coming just to play on the street in Saratoga Springs every day. And because the first thing that I took on the street was my buckets that I get from the job, these plastic buckets, I decided the channel is gonna be called 2 Buckets Street Channel. And why is it like? Because you only need 2 buckets to go on the street. You need one to play and one to sit on. 2 buckets you need. And I made a logo. I was not allowed to stay in a homeless shelter during the day, so I didn't have a desk to work. My desk was the coffee shop. My desk was the library. I was every day spending 4 or 5 hours in the coffee shop, 4 or 5 hours in the library, writing down, reading, sitting on the internet, and planning my future, planning my life, and playing in the park. I started filming different episodes about different musicians I met in Saratoga. and put them on my channel, 2 Buckets 3 channel, that later I changed the name to Dean's Home, because the channel later in my life became about my music. But if you go to my YouTube channel, Dean's Home, and you scroll back to the oldest videos, the first videos, you're gonna see videos from Saratoga, from America, from playing buckets, playing guitar, me and other musicians. Saratoga Springs surprised me how nice people were. I'll never forget homeless people looking homeless, playing music, playing beautiful songs they wrote, and being nice to me, generous to me, buying me water and giving me food. It was a new beginning for me. I saw people writing songs and recording them with their iPhones, with their iPads, and putting them on Bandcamp. There was one guy coming with a bicycle every day, I forgot his name, from a different city, coming with a bicycle, playing the mandolin on the street and singing those punk songs. And he recorded his album that summer, and he got a label later that year. So people were kind of making things happen for themselves. Me and Will, we became best friends. We were doing everything together. We were meeting girls on the street. When you play music on the street, you meet a lot of people. And I was not afraid to try everything, because I was already at the bottom. For me, I was living in a homeless shelter. I didn't have any money. I was in a new country. Everything was exciting for me. Everything was interesting for me. And for the first time of my life, I was in a different new country, new language. I was a new person. I didn't have any of my friends with me. My family was not there. My friends from high school was not there. I had a new name. I was not Dimitar anymore. I was Dean. And what this means for me was, Dimitar was something I was born and something I was my whole life. Dean was something that I developed, I created myself, I made that thing. And Dean can be everything I want, because Dimitar is something that I already became, but Dean I can delete some parts of me I don't want, some parts of me I don't like, and I can create new habits, new skills, all my fears from my past, things I don't like about myself. I can just not do them. I can just try something else. If I'm afraid of talking to girls, which I was not, but I can just be more brave and do it this time. If I'm afraid of longboarding down the street, I can do it now. I was afraid of singing on the street, but I did it. And I felt I can do everything. Because I was afraid I cannot find a place to sleep and I cannot find a job, but I found those things. And this was a big deal for me. I felt I can do everything. Life was still not very easy. I was still working a few days, but I had like a group of friends now. I was meeting girls, even though I didn't have a place to bring them. I was just... I started going to rooftops of buildings. I started searching for secret places, because I didn't have a nice place at home, but I had all this time, so I was using my time to just explore with my longboard and my guitar and my camera and my journal. That's why I'm singing my songs. Pam, what was it? Pen, book and camera are my best friends. I'm gonna leave now, I don't care. What was it? Pen, book and camera are my best friends. I'm gonna leave now, I don't care. Leave now, I don't... Something like this. Time to leave is now. So yeah, pen, book and camera, my best friends. And I get kicked out of the homeless shelter once. So I was homeless again. The reason this time was because we had a curfew every night. We had to go home at 11. But because I was working in the restaurants until midnight, they told me, for you can come at 1 or 2 latest. But you have to come directly home after work. You cannot just go on the street or something else. You have to go home. If you don't go home, this means you have another place to be. And if you have another place to be, you have to free that bed for somebody else who needs it. Was the rules. So one night, I mean, a lot of nights after my schedule was like this on the weekends. I was leaving the shelter early in the morning after I do a little work. I was going to the park or to the library and reading and writing and playing music, and then going to work in the restaurant and finishing the job, and then going on the street, play some music for 1 hour or 2 hours, and then go home. Somebody saw me that I'm playing on the street, one of the workers, when they were doing their shift or something else. So they said that to the boss of the shelter, that Dean is playing on the street instead of coming home. And they told me one night when I came home, it was a Friday. They said, Dean, I'm very sorry, but tomorrow you have to leave the shelter. I was like, what? Why? They said, because I'm sorry, but they saw you going on the street, you're playing music. You're not allowed to do it, and you have to leave the place now. Not now, but early in the morning. You're allowed to sleep, but tomorrow morning you have to leave. And I was so scared. What am I gonna do now? And but I did it. I slept. I woke up in the morning. I asked them, can I please leave my backpack here for a few days, because I cannot just bring it with me. I have no other place. They said, yeah, you can leave it here for 2 weeks, but you have to find a new place, and you cannot stay here. And I was again on the street. It was 2 months after I was still in America. 2 months after I was still in a homeless shelter, so it was in the middle of my stay. And again, I'm in the same situation with my friend Will Wojensky. What am I gonna do? He said, Dean, I can ask my uncle if you can come to sleep there, but you still have to pay rent, because you cannot just sleep there for free. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but or you can find another place. I went to the library because there was this almost like organization that was a different one, that was helping homeless people in that city. They were driving with a bus, little Volkswagen bus, around the city, and going to places where there's homeless people usually, and talking to them and see if they need some help. And a lot of homeless people were hanging up in the library because it was warm. It was the free internet, cheap coffee, and so I know this bus might show up there, and they did. They show up, and I was like, hello, my name is whatever, I need a place. I was staying in a homeless shelter, but they kicked me out because I didn't come home on time, and I need a place. And they said, okay, come with us, we're gonna try to get you back in the homeless shelter and get your bed again. If not, we're gonna help you. Maybe there's an apartment that we can find you a bed or something. So they took me back to the homeless shelter, and they tried to talk with them, but they said, I'm sorry, but they're not gonna take you in, so let's try something else. And they figure they'll start calling. They realized there's no place that they can put me in. But they said there's another option. There is this house in the forest, tree house, that some people were sleeping before, and they're gonna give me a sleeping bag, and I can stay there. So we went driving to this forest, me with these 2 people from this organization, one guy and one girl. They gave me a bag of zip ties, rope, a tarp, which is like a big plastic blanket, and a sleeping bag. And the house was not really a house. It was just 4 trees, and in the middle of in between the trees there were 4 platforms with like a little wooden, almost like stairways in between them. So it was a making of a house, but not really a house. It didn't have any walls, and it was not closed. It was open. There was just like 4 trees, 1 platform, almost like a wall, but not really a wall, made from like sticks and tarp. It was very homeless looking. It was very druggy looking. There was a bit deep in the forest, and there was no lights. There was no. It was not a park. It was a forest, real forest, outside of the city. And they said, well, maybe you can camp here for a few days, and if we find something, we'll call you. And I said, okay. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sleep in the forest now, like in a fucking movie. And I had this lamp on my forehead. I think I had like a forehead lamp, or maybe I just had a flashlight and my phone. So I'm there in the forest with my guitar, with my backpack, with my sleeping bag, trying to fix that house before it gets dark and sleep there. So I started walking in the forest looking for different material I can use to fix my house, like a fucking survival person. I fixed up a few of the walls. I kind of closed up the platforms with a tarp, and with some sticks I found, I tried making like connecting them together. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sleep here. I'm gonna live here now. And as it's getting very like dark, I was just being stupid. I just played some music on my phone, some punk music, to up my spirit a little bit, feel like, yeah, I can do it. I can be like a forest man, living in the forest. I don't give a shit. I can survive this. And my phone was dying, the battery was dying. It was already dark. And I was trying to fall asleep. I was just like laying down. I was so scared. Sleeping in a forest by yourself in the dark is not as easy as it sounds. It doesn't sound easy, but it's scary. There's all these noises in the forest because it's not a park, it's a fucking forest. There's animals there. There's no like bears, but there's animals, there can be foxes and some stuff like this, and you're afraid. You don't have any weapons. I had like a knife, like a little pocket knife or something like this. And as I was trying to sleep, it was the most difficult to fall asleep there. As I was getting ready to sleep, my phone rings. Who is that? In like 9 in the night, 8 in the night. It was one of the people working in the homeless shelter, one of the people who likes me. And they found out that I'm kicked out, and he asked me, where are you? And I said, I'm in a forest. He's like, what? You're in a forest? I was like, yeah, there's people from this organization. They couldn't find me a place, and they gave me this sleeping bag, and they showed me this platform in the trees. I can sleep. I'm gonna be fine. I just built it. I spent like 2 hours building it, and I was very proud of myself. I was like, I'm gonna sleep here. It's great. He said, no, you're not gonna sleep there. You're fucking crazy. You're gonna come back home. Let me try to get to the boss and talk to them right now if we can get you back tonight. Just keep on the phone. And I said, okay. They said, I'm gonna call you back in half an hour. And I was like, okay, but I'm fine. I'm good. I can sleep here. He said, what? How about you're fine? You're not fine. And he calls me after half an hour. I said, Dean, I pull up some strings there. If you come and you promise to not break the rules again, you can come tonight, and you can, you're gonna be safe. And I said, no, I'm good. I'm gonna sleep here tonight. I don't have to go back home tonight. I can come tomorrow maybe, but thank you. He said, what? No, how? Where? I was like, I just fixed this house. I want to sleep here. He said, no, are you crazy? No, get into a taxi. I'm gonna pay the taxi. Just tell me your address. I was like, I don't know my address. I'm here in the forest. I don't know where I am. I know if I walk this way for 20 minutes, there's gonna be a road with cars, and this road takes me to the city. It's like a little bit outside of the city after this beer factory, whatever. I remember it on my way to the forest. He said, just leave that place right now, go to the street, follow the cars, figure out the direction to Saratoga, and when you see a street with a name, call me back, I'm gonna call you a taxi. And I did that, and I started walking. I was so afraid to walk into the forest in the night. I don't know which direction is the street. I'm just trying to listen to the cars. I was becoming like an animal, in survival. And I found the street, and I saw the cars, and I started walking towards the city. I saw the factory back, and I continued walking, and I saw a street. There was this very weird looking people. I remember walking on the street outside of the city in the night. They had like kind of weird hats, almost like these Amish people, like black hats and like this kind of things on the sides. If I remember correctly, it was all like in a movie. So the taxi took me back to the homeless shelter. This guy was like, "Oh my God, Dean, I'm so happy you're safe. I'm so sorry you had to do through this." I was like, "Well, it's fine, I'm happy. I'm here." And I started living in a homeless shelter again. Later, in the next weeks, I started playing with these musicians. There was this guy who was also living in a homeless shelter. We made a little band, and I told him I played the drums. And one night after my shift in the restaurant, they got a slot on open mic stage, and I was like rushing after my job to go and play the drums, and I jumped on the drums, and I broke them. It was so good, such a nice show. We just played 2 songs. I was improvising, and somehow this guy, the singer, who was also living in homeless shelter, he didn't like me very much. Maybe he thought I'm a little bit too pushy because the way my character is. So on the next night, he brought this girl. He was trying to almost present her as his girlfriend, but she was not his girlfriend. He was not kissing her or anything, but he was trying to hook up with her. She was like this very kind of sexy, slutty girl, like a very short pants, tight clothes, and her tits like this. And she was this alternative girl who plays ukulele and sings very beautiful songs. And I didn't have that much time to talk to her, but I was like, "Hey, what's up? My name is Dina. I'm from Europe." Whatever my line was. She's like, "Oh," and I just play one song, and she was like, And then the guy was looking at me, looking at her, and he said, "Let's go to the store now." And he kind of just took her, and I said to her, "Hey, when you go back from the store, I'm not gonna be here. I have to go home, but let's meet up for coffee." And she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I'm like, "What's your phone number?" She said, I don't have a phone number. I'm gonna take your phone number from my friend." And she left, and she sends me this text message early in the morning. She said, "Dean, this guy said terrible things about you, but I don't believe it's true. If you want to have a coffee this morning, call me, or write me this number or whatever." And she was staying with this guy, and I wrote her early in the morning, "Yeah, let's meet up at 9:30 in this. I'm gonna go get a coffee in this place." And she comes there. She told me that this guy told her that I raped this girl in this party, which was the first girl I slept with in America. And I didn't rape her. She kind of jumped on me, we just had a drunk sex, you know. It was you know, definitely not rape. You know. And she said, I wanted to see who is this Bulgarian crazy guy. And I was like, that's insane, he told you this terrible things. And I called that girl that I slept with, Jordan, the first one. I said, hey, have you told this guy that I raped you? What the fuck is this? She said, no, I didn't say anything like that. I told him we had sex. Why is he talking about it? I was like, he's going around telling people that I raped you. And she's like, that's not true, that's ridiculous. I was like, it is ridiculous. And then I was like, fuck this guy, he's not my friend, fuck him, you know, he's fucking loser. And but so I'm with this girl for coffee early in the morning. We're going to the coffee shop. We're just talking for like 10 minutes. We just met each other. So we went driving to this forest. Me with these two people from this organization, one guy and one girl. They gave me a bag of zip ties, rope, a tarp, which is like a big plastic blanket, and a sleeping bag. And the house was not really a house, it was just 4 trees, and in the middle of in between the trees there were 4 platforms with like a little wooden, almost like stairways in between them. So it was a making of a house, but not really a house. It didn't have any walls, and it was not closed. It was open. There was just like 4 trees, 1 platform, almost like a wall, but not really a wall, made from like sticks and tarp. It was very homeless looking. It was very druggy looking. There was a bit deep in the forest, and there was no lights. There was no. It was not a park. It was a forest, real forest, outside of the city. And they said, well, maybe you can camp here for a few days, and if we find something, we'll call you. And I said, okay. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sleep in the forest now, like in a fucking movie. And I had this lamp on my forehead. I think I had like a forehead lamp, or maybe I just had a flashlight and my phone. So I'm there in the forest with my guitar, with my backpack, with my sleeping bag, trying to fix that house before it gets dark and sleep there. So I started walking in the forest looking for different material I can use to fix my house, like a fucking survival person. I fixed up a few of the walls. I kind of closed up the platforms with a tarp, and with some sticks I found, I tried making like connecting them together. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sleep here, I'm gonna live here now. And as it's getting very like dark, I was just being stupid. I just played some music on my phone, some punk music, to up my spirit a little bit, feel like, yeah, I can do it. I can be like a forest man living in the forest. I don't give a shit. I can survive this. And my phone was dying, you know, the battery was dying. It was already dark. And I was trying to fall asleep. I was just like laying down. I was so scared. Sleeping in a forest by yourself in the dark is not as easy as it sounds. It doesn't sound easy, but it's scary. There's all these noises in the forest because it's not a park, it's a fucking forest. There's animals there. There's no like bears, but there's animals, you know. There can be foxes and, you know, some stuff like this, and, you know, you're afraid. You don't have any weapons. I had like a knife, like a little pocket knife or something like this. And as I was trying to sleep, it was the most difficult to fall asleep there. As I was getting ready to sleep, my phone rings. who is that? In like 9 in the night, 8 in the night. It was one of the people working in the homeless shelter, one of the people who likes me. And they found out that I'm kicked out, and he asked me where are you? And I said, I'm in a forest. He's like, what? You're in a forest? I was like, yeah. There's people from this organization. They couldn't find me a place, and they gave me this sleeping bag, and they showed me this platform in the trees. I can sleep. I'm gonna be fine. I just built it. I spent like 2 hours building it, and I was very proud of myself. I was like, I'm gonna sleep here. It's great. He said, no, you're not gonna sleep there. You're fucking crazy. Oh. You're gonna come back home. Let me try to get to the boss and talk to them right now if we can get you back tonight. Just keep on the phone. And I said, okay. They said, I'm gonna call you back in half an hour. And I was like, okay, but I'm fine. I'm good. I can sleep here. He said, what? How about you're fine? You're not fine. And he calls me after half an hour. I said, Dean, I pull up some strings there. If you come and you promise to not break the rules again, you can come tonight, and you can, you're gonna be safe. And I said, no, I'm good. I'm gonna sleep here tonight. I don't have to go back home tonight. I can come tomorrow maybe, but thank you. He said, what? No, how? Where? I was like, I just fixed this house. I want to sleep here. He said, no, are you crazy? No, get into a taxi. I'm gonna pay the taxi. Just tell me your address. I was like, I don't know my address. I'm here in the forest. I don't know where I am. I know if I walk this way for 20 minutes, there's gonna be a road with cars, and this road takes me to the city. It's like a bit outside of the city after this beer factory, whatever. I remember it on my way to the forest. He said, just leave that place right now, go to the street, follow the cars, figure out the direction to Saratoga, and when you see a street with a name, call me back. I'm gonna call you a taxi. And I did that, and I started walking. I was so afraid to walk into the forest in the night. I don't know which direction is the street. I'm just trying to listen to the cars. I was becoming like an animal, in survival. And I found the street, and I saw the cars, and I started walking towards the city. I saw the factory back, and I continued walking, and I saw a street. There was this very weird looking people. I remember walking on the street outside of the city in the night. They had like kind of weird hats, almost like this Amish people, like black hats and like this kind of things on the sides. If I remember correctly, it was all like in a movie. So the taxi took me back to the homeless shelter. This guy was like, "Oh my God, Dean, I'm so happy you're safe. I'm so sorry you had to do through this." I was like, "Well, it's fine. I'm happy. I'm here." And I started living in a homeless shelter again. Later, in the next weeks, I started playing with these musicians. There was this guy who was also living in a homeless shelter. We made a little band, and I told him I played the drums. And one night after my shift in the restaurant, they got a slot on open mic stage, and I was like rushing after my job to go and play the drums, and I jumped on the drums and I broke them. It was so good, such a nice show. We just played 2 songs. I was improvising, and somehow this guy, the singer, who was also living in homeless shelter, he didn't like me very much. Maybe he thought I'm a little bit too pushy because the way my character is. So on the next night, he brought this girl. He was trying to like almost present her as his girlfriend, but she was not his girlfriend. He was not kissing her or anything, but he was trying to hook up with her. She was like this very kind of sexy, slutty girl, like a very short pants, like tight clothes, and her tits like this. And she was this alternative girl who plays ukulele and sings very beautiful songs. And I didn't have that much time to talk to her, but I was like, hey, what's up? My name is Dina. Yeah, I'm from Europe. You know, whatever my line was. She's like, oh, and I just play one song, and she was like, and then the guy was looking at me, looking at her, and he said, let's go to the store now. And he kind of just like took her, and I said to her, hey, when you go back from the store, I'm not gonna be here. I have to go home, but let's meet up for coffee. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, what's your phone number? She said, I don't have a phone number. I'm gonna take your phone number from my friend. And she left, and she sends me this text message early in the morning. Like she said, Dean, this guy said terrible things about you, but I don't believe it's true. If you want to have a coffee this morning, call me. Or like write me this number or whatever. And she was staying with this guy, and I wrote her early in the morning, like, yeah, let's meet up at 9:30 in this. I'm gonna go get a coffee in this place. And she comes there. She told me that this guy told her that I raped this girl in this party, which was this girl, the first girl I slept with in America, and I didn't rape her. She kind of jumped on me, you know. We just had a drunk sex, you know. It was, you know, definitely not rape, you know. And she said I wanted to see who is this Bulgarian crazy guy, and I was like, that's insane. He told you this terrible things. And I called that girl that I slept with, Jordan, the first one. I said, hey, have you told this guy that I raped you? What the fuck is this? She said, no, I didn't say anything like that. I told him we had sex. Why is he talking about it? I was like, he's going around telling people that I raped you. And she's like, that's not true, that's ridiculous. I was like, it is ridiculous. And then I was like, fuck this guy, he's not my friend, fuck him, you know, he's fucking loser. And but so I'm with this girl for coffee early in the morning. We're going to the coffee shop. We're just talking for like 10 minutes. We just met each other. We on a line on the coffee shop, and I look at her. We had an instant connection, instant like click, you know. I was 21, she was like 20 or 19, and she was looking at me with his eyes. I was looking at her, and I was thinking, fuck it, you know, my life is a fucking crazy story. I was in a homeless shelter, I was in a forest, I was everywhere, I was playing music, I don't know what the fuck is going on. This guy is talking lies about me. I don't give a shit, I'm gonna be brave. And as we were standing in this line to get coffee, we just didn't get a coffee yet. We just talked for 10 minutes. I just looked at her and I just kissed her, you know, right there in the coffee shop. And she kissed me, but she looked at me like this, wow, what was this? And I said, well, this is how we do it in Europe. And I was like, wow, I never been with a guy from Europe. I come from Bulgaria. It's not really Europe. It's like Eastern Europe. But yeah, I was just doing everything I can to just like have some fun. And we started making out, and it was great. We get a coffee, and then I took her to this rooftop that I really like. This rooftop of like a hotel, and I wanted to have sex with her, and she also wanted to have sex with me. And but she just gave me like a blowjob on the rooftop, and then she said, let's get some condoms. And then we get some condoms, and then went back to that rooftop, or we went to a different one. Then we had sex, and it was great, you know. And then I was going to work so happy, like, fuck yeah, I'm a fucking machine, you know. Doing this shit. And then I started looking for that guy who was talking shit about me. So, as I was with this girl early in the morning, he started texting her, because she had her phone. Her phone was before in his place, and he's texting her, where are you? I cannot find you. I woke up and you were not there. Are you safe? And then I was like, let me text him. And I text him from my phone number. Yo, she's good, she's with me. And where are you? I want to talk to you about something. I heard you were talking some shit about me to other people. And I just wanted to find him and give him a little lesson for what he's talking about me, like telling people I'm like a rapist. Like, how can you say those things? And I couldn't find him. He kind of disappeared for like 2 weeks. Nobody found him. And I told everybody that if I see him again, I'm gonna beat him. But I couldn't find him. So yeah, later on, let me just jump a little bit in time. I met another girl called Tara. She was different than everybody else. She was very strange, very crazy girl. She was 2 years older than me. She was a very good musician and very good artist. We started dating. We just slept a few times, and then we really liked each other. She had a car. She was working in a pet store, and she was living in a little city near Saratov, very close, but different city. And we drove to her house. It was a great house. Whoa! But before her, there was a few other girls. I don't know if I should say all the stories. I don't know if it's interesting for you. There was just the same situation. A different girl, another musician comes there. She's very crazy, and everybody's looking at her. She's like hot. She was like doing handstands on the street, and like everybody can see her ass and everything. And she was like the most beautiful girl in America I saw. Like, she was like a perfection. And again, I was trying my best to make a good impression with her. And in that night, let me go back in time, because actually when they kicked me out of the shelter, they kicked me for 2 nights. 2 nights I was on the street, actually 2 nights. The first night I met this other girl, and the second night I met this organization. I slept in the forest, but the first night I slept on a rooftop. Or 3 nights I was on the street, on the rooftops, and for 3 nights I was on the street. 1 time alone, 1 time I met this girl, and the 3rd time was in the forest. Wow, fuck, this was a fucking crazy story. Crazy experience. Oh yeah, the first night I was on the street, I'm gonna go back. I know I'm kind of talking a little bit weirdly, but I didn't thought about it for a long time, and this is a lot of things happened for this few months. And things that I want to share because they were kind of crazy experience when I think about them. So yeah, I want to tell you the story. The first night I was out of the shelter. It was a Friday, and or Saturday, the bank was closed, so I couldn't use my bank to take some money of my savings, because when I get money, I was always putting them in the bank right away. So I was trying to have no money on me, so I cannot spend them. So all my money were in a little bank thing, but the bank was closed, so I was not able to reach my money. I had like only 40 euros in my pocket. And when they kicked me out of the shelter, I was thinking, I'm gonna buy a sleeping bag and sleep on the street. And I had 40 euros. I couldn't buy anything in the city because everything was expensive. And they told me there's this place outside of the city, again in this mall, that you can buy some camping stuff there from like what was it? It was like big, like a store. And I was there, and there was the cheapest sleeping bag for 40 euros. But in America, in upstate New York, they say 40 euros, but then you have to pay tax, so it's more than 40. And I had only 40 euros with me. It was like $42. I had only $40. And I show up in this kind of a cash register, and I was like, I have 40 euros. This thing is 42, but I don't have 42. I have only 40. But can I give you these guitar picks? And I reach in my pocket, and I had some guitar picks like this one. It's like those things cost $1 each. I give you a few. I don't have the money. And it was like, I don't take guitar picks. I need $2 more. I was like, I don't have $2 more. And she said, like, she didn't give a shit. She was like, then you cannot buy it. I was like, but please, I really need that sleeping bag. I cannot, I don't have 40. And I was like with my guitar, with my backpack, and I look a bit homeless maybe, even though I wasn't stinking and everything. I wasn't dirty, but I looked a little bit crazy. So there was one guy waiting after me in line. He was listening to the conversation. He said, I get you, man. He took $2 from his pocket and paid, and helped me. And I was like, thank you, sir. And I gave him the guitar picks. And I had a sleeping bag, and I slept on the rooftop of the, what was it? A rooftop of something, some kind of rooftop of like a bakery or something. And I remember it was so weird for me going to sleep there, and I hide behind this outside machine that was on the rooftop, that was kind of like the air conditioner extension, and I tied my guitar next to my leg. I put my backpack as a pillow and in the sleeping bag, and I was hiding behind this thing. And in the morning, woke up and then I met this girl on the street. I was still going to work, and I met this beautiful girl, and I was still on the street that night. And I spent all night with her and the others. There was a few boys that were around behind her, and nobody wanted to leave her. Everybody was trying to like flirt with her, but I was also trying. And in the end, it was me, her, and this guy, and he didn't want to leave her. And then she was talking to me, not to him. And I said, let's go this place. And he was following as well. And then I looked at him and said, only me and her, not you. And she looked at him and smiled, and he left. And I tried to take her to this rooftop of the hotel, but it was closed. And she said, I know another place we can go. And she took me to this other rooftop. And we took some cardboard that was behind the bins, and we made like a little platform. We can sleep on the platform. It was so strange for me, because this was the most beautiful girl I ever saw in America, and she was like getting ready to sleep with me. She just met me on a rooftop inside a sleeping bag on top of cardboard. What a crazy experience. And we slept, we had sex, and she left in the morning. And that night also I was playing the buckets on the street, and it was the first time I played my heart out. It was like a Saturday night, and I was playing between the bars, and I made like a lot of money. And I started counting my money after she left, and I had like $155. I was like, what? That's incredible. I cannot believe I made so much for one night playing on the street, the buckets. And I realized I'm gonna be a fucking musician. And then the next night I was getting ready to sleep in the forest, but I get back my house. And later on, before I met Tara, there was another night that I told them I'm gonna have a concert, so they let me to stay up all night, the homeless shelter. And I met another girl, and we went to sleep in a different rooftop. And then the police wake us up early in the morning because somebody saw people sleeping there, and they called the police. And police wake me and this girl in the sleeping bag, and there was this other guy also sleeping next to us that we didn't see him when we were going to sleep. He came later. He was just like another homeless person, homeless musician, homeless crazy guy. And police was checking our DNA, and not DNA but passports, and they were actually very cool to us. I will not forget the main police officer. He was smiling, and he said he just came from like a Slipknot concert with his son, so he's fine. He see us musicians with guitars, so we're friendly. We're not taking drugs there, and he understands it's summer, but we cannot do it. And then later on, I get my bed back in the shelter, and I met Tara, and I started seeing this girl, and she was something very special. She had a very dramatic love story. I'm not gonna say it here because it's her own stuff. I respect this girl a lot, so I'm not gonna say anything that can, yeah. But this girl was something else. Tara was very special, and we started really properly dating, and we did a few trips together. And after my last working weeks were done, we planned to make a big trip together and go to a different state with her car, and go to the sea, and visit some friends of her family and make music and do some crazy shit. And she introduced me to her friends that were very crazy, creative. There was one guy, John Gill. He had a crazy band called the Black Ships, like ships, or the Dead Ships, something like this. I forgot. They were doing this experimental dark music, and he was a singer. And me and Tara, one of the first adventures we did. The plan was, when I finished my working thing, to spend my last 3 weeks of my visa in America to just move with her in her house and do some music and crazy trips and everything. So the first adventure we did was we went to this abandoned house in a different city. There was a little city that was famous because there was a normal prosperity in that city, but then they start digging for natural gas, and I think in the 70s, in the 80s, and something like this in the 60s, and the water was contaminated in the city, and everybody from the city was told to leave immediately. So people just left because it was dangerous for them to stay there. They just left their houses. So there were empty houses, and there were police cars that were just patrolling to make sure nobody's like living there or doing some crazy shit. But there was a big hotel, like a big rich, like Jewish hotel, like 8 floors, 10 floors, big one. And it was famous on the internet for people going there and like making crazy parties, and because everything in the hotel is still there, like the plates and the cups, and there's like a gym rooms and all this crazy rooms. People go there to make graffiti and record music videos, and she wanted to go there, and we went there together. It was very scary. We hid the car, and then we broke in through one of the windows, and we were climbing, me and her, with like flashlights and cameras, and it was very scary. We think we saw some homeless people inside, like shadows of people inside the hotel, and we were like, let's go. But we prepared some food. We had some like sandwiches, and we had this like romantic lunch in the abandoned hotel, and like the big room, like big dining lunch room, with like a small little tables with like a fake flowers that was still there in like a vase, so it was ridiculous. There was this room with all these TVs and all this crazy stuff. There was things written on the wall like, don't come in, you're gonna die, and like shit like this, and it was scary. We were thinking maybe some people are sleeping there, so maybe they put some traps, we need to be careful where we go. And we left when we felt somebody's presence. We felt somebody's watching us, and we were there in this abandoned house, big house. I was like, fuck. We were climbing to the roof. There was some holes in the floor. It was very scary, very creepy. There was some very dramatic pictures made with graffiti and other things and markers, and we left that place, and we decided we're gonna go there again. So we made a little trip with Tara. We went to the sea together. We made some music together, and she was living with one roommate who was a skateboard musician, and we were playing music together a few times. We ate food together. Ryan, he was a very cool guy. So after we came back from this trip to the sea with Tara, we decided we're gonna go and shoot a music video for her friend's band, from like the Black Ship or Dead Ships, the band from John Gill. And we did that music video in the abandoned house. We went with 2 cars and like a whole crew, and like the idea was, because his music is dark, we're gonna be dressed all in like uniforms, military uniforms, and like soldiers. It was me, Tara, him, his girlfriend, and 2 other guys or something like this. And he found on the internet a military uniform from Bulgaria for me, like a Bulgarian military uniform. And I was wearing it, and we had these gas masks. And we went there with the gas masks, and we had like cameras and like light machines, and like instead of he wanted to have a smoke machine, but he didn't have a smoke machine. He bought a grenade from the internet, like a gas grenade. Like, it was very dangerous. Never do that. You don't know, this thing might explode and kill you or danger you. But we had this kind of Okay, maybe I shouldn't say it on the internet. Anyway, we had this kind of a guest thing, and we opened it inside the hotel for the video, and we realized this was a big mistake because everything filled up with gas, and we had to leave that place. We also went to the sea. I went with a few other guys to visit some caves. I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of living in the last month of my life in America. But also I also went to the university that was there to play there and meet some other people. I met another girl that I took to a rooftop, all this shit. So in the end, I didn't want to leave America. I wanted to stay there. I tried to extend my visa. I remember one day when I was playing on the street, I met a lawyer. One musician who said he's a lawyer, and he was trying to collect money with his band for some music thing, trying to like have some fun, but also make some crowdfunding for some cause. And he gave me his card. He said, "Dean, if you ever need my help, if you have some problem with police or something, just call me." And I called him and I said, I want to see you. I want to extend my visa. And he invited me to come. He didn't charge me any money. He said he cannot help me, but he can give me the name of another person who can see me for free, his friend. And I went to meet this other woman. She looked at my papers. She said, "It's very hard for me to stay in America now. Better to finish my education and then come again, because with my J1 visa I cannot just extend it like this." So I was getting ready that I'm gonna go home. I told you earlier that I was allowed to only stay 2 months in the homeless shelter, but I stayed there for 5 months. And the reason is the boss of the homeless shelter, this old lady, we had to meet her as a therapist once every 2 weeks, but she realized she's not gonna have any problems with me, so I didn't have to meet her. But she was on my side, and she said she understood that I didn't have money, and I was just there for a little bit, and I was going back home soon, and she allowed me to stay there for 5 months. But in the end, I didn't want to leave, and Tara, my girlfriend from America, she wanted to help me to stay in America. So she called her mother. Her mother was working something in the government, see if she can like get me a job or something. But I was thinking a lot about this, and I realized it's too crazy. I still had 2 years in university, 2-3 years more in Bulgaria, and I had my sister, my family there, and my sister was about to go to study in university next year, so she was going to have a lot of crazy situations, going from a little city to a capital by herself. And I realized it's better for me to be there, and I realized it's better for me to go back home. And it was very dramatic. I'll never forget. I see my best friend Will Wojensky. I saw all of my friends from America for last time, and I said goodbye to them. And I remember I was sitting one night with my best friend Will Wojensky. We went to this rooftop. We were always going to these 2 rooftops, always. It was our places to just sit there and talk. And this time we just went there. We were not talking. We were just we were silent. We were just sitting next to each other and just like not saying a word for half an hour, just smoking cigarettes, listening to music from our phones, and not talking and thinking. And we both know this was the last time we're gonna see each other. And we just didn't want to make it more dramatic. We just wanted to be like, keep it cool, boy. Keep it cool, my friend, And we just said, yeah. We hugged each other. We said, okay, we see each other, man. Said, yeah, have a good one in Bulgaria. Have a good one, my brother. And we left so sad. I was very sad. He was also very sad. And then Tara was also very sad. She was crying. She was crying all the time. She was crying when I said to her, I'm not gonna stay, I have to leave. She was crying in the car. Last night that we spent together, she was crying again. She was crying for me. And I was crying for everybody. I missed everybody. I went to the bus and I was going home. With Tara, we also went to New York City for 3 days to visit one of her friends. We saw Times Square, we saw everything, all the big things in New York City you can see for 2-3 days. I realized how big and beautiful that city is. I realized it's the place I want to live the most. I want to live in New York City. But it was so dramatic and sad when I had to leave her, and I was coming back to Bulgaria. I was coming a different man. I was coming back completely different man. On my way to the airport, my backpack broke, and I had this like a guitar backpack that broke both of the, straps, and this big longboard. And I was afraid they're not gonna let me on the airplane because I had too many things, but they let me in, and I flew back to Bulgaria. My parents came to pick me up, and I came back a different man. I was different. I was very different. I completely killed my old version of me. It was back there because I was different. I was more brave. I didn't spend time with my family and my friends for 6 months. I didn't speak Bulgarian with anybody. I remember in the first months from this life, I was still sending messages to my old friends, but I realized they don't understand what's going on in my life. And my best friend, I felt like he was a bit jealous of my stories, and he didn't want to listen to those stories because he was sitting back home in Bulgaria doing nothing, and I was having this adventure. I was on the street, I was meeting all these beautiful girls, I was playing music, I was traveling, I was doing all this shit. And yeah, my best friends were not doing the same and in Bulgaria, so I felt like I broke this connection. I came back a completely different man. I came back with a big dream to make music, to have adventure life, to break my fears. And I came back to Bulgaria believing I can do all of those things. I started my YouTube channel, I was writing songs, I was filming, I was doing everything I wanted. Things that I was afraid before. So this is the last chapter. Coming back a different man, completely different man. I'm just gonna finish now saying that, let's see a little epilogue. I believe every person should do that. And if you're a young person, if you're 20 years old, in your 20s or something, if you're considering going abroad to a different country, of course now in the coronavirus 2021, the spring, it's different picture for everybody here in the world. But if you can go when this coronavirus is over, if you can just go to work in a different country, you should do it. You should completely do it. Not for the money, for the adventure, for this experience. The things you're gonna learn from living abroad, even for 6 months, you're gonna change yourself completely. A lot of Bulgarian students are going to America to work and travel. Most are just going to make money, and most of them are making a very hard working people. They work for one summer, they come back, and they can pay for their studies, they pay for their life in Bulgaria. Life in Bulgaria is much cheaper. Not super cheap as well, because you're not making a lot of money and everything is still expensive, but the money you can make in America are big in Bulgaria. Just when you think that in America the minimum wage, at least in New York State, is making $8-9 per hour, in Bulgaria it's €1.50 per hour. €1.50 in the restaurant. So the money are much better. Anyway, if you are thinking about doing something like that, going abroad, working, doing a fucking adventure, something you're afraid of, you should definitely do it. It was the best decision of my life to go to America, one of the best ones. And I came back a completely different man. I was afraid, I was broken and depressed before I left. I was thinking about this girl, Victoria. Or I called her Alison in the previous episode. Fuck, I'm just saying too much. But yeah, I was thinking about her in the beginning of my trip in America. I was thinking about her every day of my work in the golf court. I was thinking about her and about music. Those two things. And because my heart was broken in a way before I left, I didn't give a shit about myself. I just didn't I took risks because I was so hurt, I was so sad that I didn't give a shit what happens to me when I was in America. That was why I was doing this kind of a stupid, ridiculous, dangerous decisions, because I didn't give a shit what happens to me. I was a bit kind of suicidal. I didn't want to kill myself, but I just didn't give a shit what happens. I was just like going with the flow. But I built my character being there. I saw what it's like to be hungry. I saw what it's like to not have a place to stay, to have nobody to help you. And I saw that people can be nice to you. People can help you. If you're in a hard situation, people can help you. You're never alone. You're never alone. And everything's gonna be good in the end. You're gonna be fine. There's more things that happened that I didn't tell in this short episode, because I don't want to talk for fucking 5 hours. I don't know if anybody's gonna watch this, but if you're interested into learning more about this experience I had, I made a book about it. It's called Going to America. It's on Spotify. Going to America on Spotify and on YouTube by Dean is Home. It has 6 chapters that tell the whole story, again with different details. Some of them I didn't say here. Some other few miracles that happened to me I said in the book. But yeah, I think I said the most important things in this little podcast episode story. Episode number 4 of how it started. Episode number 4, Going to America. There's gonna be more episode coming, and this thing happened to me 7 years ago. I'm 27 now. I was 21 when this happened. When I came back to Bulgaria, I recorded my first album. I was brave. I came home with a dream, with a fire in my heart that I can do everything I want, because I felt like I've been to the hell and back, even though I was not in hell, but it felt like this sometimes, and I survived it. I didn't tell my parents I was homeless. I didn't tell them this shit. I didn't want them to worry about me. I told my mother when I came back, but when she was crying and everything. I didn't tell her when it happened. I just wanted to prove to myself I can handle it. I wanted to prove to myself I can do it. I have to finish this episode because the camera is gonna shut down. It's getting 2 hours. 2 hours. I guess I already cut it into 2 pieces. Part 1, part 2 for Instagram, and the whole thing on YouTube. I have a new album coming this March 2021 called Club 27, because my last month of being 27. Maybe one day I'm gonna tell the story of America in a longer episode, because 2 hours are not enough at all. There was so many experiences that happened in this little window of 6 months, because my mind was go, do, don't wait, don't waste a single day. I was hungry, I was eating in the church, I was getting food from the garbage, I was playing music every day. And I realized music is the thing that I love the most, because it was the thing that kept me going, and the thing that gave me all these connections and contacts to people. Because of music I survived. Because of music I met every person, every friend, every enemy, every girl, everything beautiful, because of the music. Thank you for watching. This is the 4th episode of How It Started. 5th episode, I'm gonna tell you what happened when I came back to Bulgaria, a different man in university. Everything changed. It was all different. I came heavy. I came with a new name, with a new purpose, new dreams, and new motivation. If you want to support me, there is a Bandcamp link in the description. You can buy my music there for whatever price you choose. You can listen to all my albums. I have a Patreon coming soon, and yeah, if I already have the Patreon, it's linked in the description on YouTube and in Instagram, in the description, my bio. Thank you for watching. My name is Dean. Dean's home. You have to do something difficult and scary so you can learn. There's no limits. You'll survive. I promise you. Peace and love. Dean.